The ability to handle emotions is one of the most critical attributes that an athlete needs to be able to have if they're going to be able to handle that stress and pressure and adversity that comes from their sport. So in this video, I'm going to break down 3 keys that you're going to be able to use to better handle those emotions and maximize your sport performance. Today, we're going to get better. If you're looking for the best mental performance and sports psychology advice, tools, and tactics, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button below, as well as turn that notification bell on, so that way whenever I drop a new piece of content on here, you'll be one of the first ones to know. And make sure that you stick around towards the end of the video. I've got a special gift for you. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to better handle those emotions that inevitably come up in sport. And a big part of the inspiration behind this video was actually one of my earliest clients was a very high-level gymnast, and this is one of the things that she tended to struggle with the most. When it got time for her to perform or she was going to go into a competition, the emotions became very overwhelming, and many times it kept her from performing. So listen, if you're watching this video, I want you to understand that if you're somebody who struggles with your emotions when it comes to performance and competition, you are not alone, okay? And I think that the 3 keys that worked for her, I think that you're absolutely going to be able to apply them for you, so that way you're going to be able to better handle these things in the future. All right, so let's dive in. So the first key to better handling these emotions, it all starts with awareness. We need to be able to develop the ability, especially in athletes and even young athletes, in the ability to be able to recognize what are these emotions specifically, right? What are these unproductive emotions that are coming up that are having a big impact on us? Because I think a lot of people would be really surprised to know that athletes really aren't as aware as one might think, or even that they might think. What they're aware of in those situations where they're struggling with their emotions, they're aware of the impact that the emotion is having on them, right? As opposed to being aware of what specifically the emotion is. So for example, they'll come out of a competition where they really struggle, and they're really aware of the negative thinking that came up, or maybe they really beat themselves up, or they were having a hard time focusing, and they'll blame that on, I was just getting really emotional. But they don't take the next step and actually asking themselves, what is the emotion that's coming up? And that is critically important. And the reason why this is so important is because at the end of the day, we need to be able to identify an emotion that's coming up in those situations, ideally before that big reaction pops up and grabs a hold of us. Because if we're able to quickly recognize, okay, this emotion is coming up, whether it's fear or I'm nervous or maybe I'm having some doubts. If we can quickly recognize that, we're going to be able to position ourselves much more quickly to stop that emotion from having such a big impact on the actions that we're able to take. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. But we can't stop those actions that are so heavily influenced by emotion, right? That lack of focus or beating ourselves up, or just getting really down and really negative. It's really hard to stop those reactions if we're not first able to recognize what is the emotion that's driving those reactions. So in psychology, we call that creating space. I want you to be able to recognize from a distance that emotion is coming up, that it's popping up, that it may have an impact on you. Because if you can recognize it quickly, right, then we're going to be able to do the other things that we're going to talk about in this video before that massive reaction comes up. But it starts with the ability to quickly and efficiently recognize, hey, this is that emotion specifically. All right, so once we've established this ability to better and more efficiently recognize what the actual emotions are that are coming up in these situations, we can move forward into the next key, which is allowing yourself to feel that way, right? And I think this is going to be really counterintuitive to the way a lot of you think, because I don't know when this myth or misconception started that mental toughness was all about not experiencing any emotion, right? And here's the thing, I've worked with thousands of athletes at this point in my career, many of them very high-level athletes, professional athletes, Olympic athletes. And I'm here to tell you that they feel the wide range of emotions that you feel, right? But the difference between a really high-level athlete who's really gotten good at handling his emotions and maybe some of you is, When an athlete of that level, of that caliber, experiences those emotions, they're able to still do the things and keep their mind on the task and still being able to execute their preparation in spite of how they feel, right? And what I see a lot of times happening in younger athletes is when they experience their like some sort of emotion, whether it's fear or worry or nervousness or anything, right? Any sort of unproductive or really uncomfortable emotion, their first thought is, I've got to get rid of this, right? I can't feel this way. And I think part of that is, you know, the misconceptions that we have behind mental toughness, but I'm here to tell you, the second key here is you have to learn to allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you want to feel. Because if you don't, what you end up doing is you end up spending a lot of time trying to get rid of a feeling, right? Whether that's trying to change it and trying to make it something that it's not, or trying to pretend that it doesn't exist, or just outright fighting that emotion. And when I sit down with a group of athletes or with one of my one-on-one clients, I'll often ask them, listen, if you're spending all this time trying to get rid of an emotion, get rid of something, get rid of the way that you feel in a situation, what are you not focusing on? Right? And the answer to that question is you're not focusing on what you're supposed to be doing in that moment. You're not focusing on the task. You're just focusing on how you feel. And there's a whole game and a sport and a competition that's happening around you, right? And you're not in it. You're not in the competition because you're so wrapped up in how you feel, right? The best athletes, the athletes at the highest level, they absolutely feel fear and worry and even doubt at times, right? But they're able to still redirect their mind and focus on the things that they need to be able to do in spite of how they feel. And I think one of the big takeaways from that is that the more that you're able to get your mind back on task and do the things that you need to be able to do and focus on what you need to be able to focus on in spite of that emotion, the more that you start to realize that, you know what, these emotions, they don't necessarily have as much power over me as I think if I just kind of let them be, right? Because at the end of the day, you feel the way that you feel because you care. You've put a lot of time into your sport and you care a lot about it, right? So you can't convince yourself that you're not supposed to get frustrated if you make a mistake, or that you're not supposed to get upset if you lose, or that you're not supposed to get worried about failure or anything else like that, right? Because at the end of the day, you feel that way quite simply because you care. The real key and the real trick, if you want to call it a trick, is the ability to say, you know what, I'm allowed to feel this way, but right now my mind's got to be on task, right? I've got to get myself in the best possible position mentally, and that certainly doesn't look like focusing on trying to make an emotion go away. So at this point, you've had two keys, right? Two really good keys, the ability to become more aware, right? And the ability to start allowing yourself to feel the way that you do without battling, and then still being able to get yourself back on task and understanding what your focus should be, right? Of those two keys, comment below, right? Leave me a comment. Which one do you think is going to be more impactful for you in the future? I'd love to hear it, and I promise you I'm going to give you a response too. And if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment box too. All right, so since you've made it this far in the video, I've got a special gift for you. I want you to go to my website, trainwithperk.com, Perk with a C.com/free guide. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description box. What you're gonna find there is a 100% free guide. I call it my free guide to winning your next moment, okay? Basically, the inspiration behind this guide is I've had a lot of times where I've got athletes or even just other performers come to me and they're like, hey, you know what, Jay, I've got a big performance coming up. I've got a big competition coming up. I've got a big tryout or an evaluation, whatever it is. What are just some little things that I can do that's immediately gonna elevate, right, my ability to succeed in that moment? Everything that I would tell those people or any person that had that question for me is in that guide. So make sure you get over there. Again, it's trainwithperk.com/free guide, right? Get over there because, well, it's free, and also I think it's really gonna help you. All right, time for the last key. And the last key is start working on this in practice. I think a lot of times we forget that practice, right, our sport practice can be just as impactful for the mental side of our sport as it is any of the other components of the sport as well, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're experiencing some of these emotions going into a game, you're probably experiencing them in practice as well. Now they're probably going to be maybe a lot less intense, right? They're going to be a lot less impactful for you. but at the end of the day, they're still going to be there, right? So that gives us a really good opportunity in a situation that maybe doesn't have as much risk, that, you know, sorry coaches, may not be as important to us in those situations, so we don't feel that same kind of pressure, but the emotions still pop up. And this is an excellent time for you to start putting these things like awareness, right? You know, allowing yourself to feel that way, but still focusing on the task. Everything that we've talked about to this video, start working on that in practice, right? Because we don't want to take anything to a game or rely on anything in a game that we haven't, right, repped out and put into our practice, into our preparation. So like I said, practice is an excellent time to do this and all the other stuff that we're going to talk about in these future videos. Practice is an excellent time to work on this because, like I said, the emotions probably aren't as intense, right? They're probably not having as much of an impact on you, but they're still there, right? So start putting these strategies into play when you're at practice. All right, thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure that you, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and also don't forget, get over there again, trainwithpert.com/free guide to get that 100% free training. Right? I'll just need your email address and that'll let me know where to send it to, okay? Look forward to seeing you next time.